Hello my friends, welcome back. It's Nat Walsh. Today we are going to play with a new stamp set. It is the Couture Creation stamp and colour. Now they've got quite a lot. Now the point to these is they actually have their Couture Creation also has alcohol markers, and they on the packaging they actually say, well, this is the colours that we've used to colour this. In this case, the tulips. They've got birds, they've got butterflies, they've got other flowers, they've got some poppies. And they're the ones I can remember. There's also a boy. But today we are going to play with the tulips because I thought they really stood out to me. So we're going to play with those. I've stamped them down with Memento Tuxedo ink, and we're going to colour that with Copics. The colours that I'm using are going to be G99, G94 and YG03. Now I'm going to show you some of the colouring at this speed, and then I'm going to show you the rest pretty much at a much faster pace because it still takes quite a while. So I'm using if I use the right marker, the G99 down the center, and I'm just going to blend that out with the G94 and then again with the YG03, and this is going to give me do that two times. Generally speaking, it's 2 times, and this will give me the nice little blend. And it's also got the YG03, gives it that real brighter look. My color combination that I had for this, every now and then. Okay, so I have issues with my back. I have a curvature in my back like so many other people. And so sometimes obviously that causes me grief with sleeping. But I've never quite had insomnia until recently. So this is a long story for no particular reason really whatsoever. It's actually not a long story, but I digress. My husband and I went to Costco to pick up a birthday cake for my son who just turned 18, which I think I've mentioned previously, and I don't think he's going to be much of a drinker. I'm off the topic again. Anyway, we went to Costco and I decided that my husband was going to buy me flowers. So I started looking at the flowers and he comes up and he's like, I'm going to buy you flowers, am I? And I'm like, yep. So he did. But the point of the story is that's how I got the color combination, because they're basically this coloring with the red. They're roses, so they have a little bit, there's a little bit of other red scattered through them sort of thing, but they're that orange with a bit of red. So that's where I got the inspiration for this color combination. So there's lots of inspiration out there, people. So what I'm trying to do is trying to give it a little bit of texture around just where it might have a bit of movement through the flower. I'm trying to keep the middle there just that bit as light as I can, but I'm doing very, very gentle flicks. Now the tip of this marker is, I think, a little bit damaged because it's just it was a little bit naughty, so I do need to replace the tip of that. But it's the same goes with trying, because it's the darkest color, so I'm just trying to give it a very, very soft little flick up, so you can still see it, but I still wanted that little bit of flicking texture through my flower. So we'll go back to this stamp. So this stamp, there's quite a few that are boxed. Not all, but there's quite a few. Oh, there's a daisy one, which I've got to colour up. But the poppies and the tulips are boxed up. Now, obviously, that would look really pretty by themselves, just as a simple card. As you can see, they're quite large in the scheme of things. What they've done in the packaging is within the box they've coloured that. But what I'm going to do is trim all my tulips out. So I've actually, off camera, I've stamped it 2 times. I'm going to colour it the same colours. It's exactly the same, except for the fact that it's 2 images, so the colouring might be slightly varied. And then we're going to trim those out. And they're actually really pretty straightforward and pretty simple. I used a knife in the parts down near my hand. You can see that there is a hole in between the 2 stems, and there's another one up higher than that. I use a knife, but other than that, and I used a knife also for the stems, and I did that first because this way there was more cardstock holding everything else together, and I find it just so much easier. And honestly, I stuff up less if I do it this way. That might be just a me thing. But so the stems, the little holes with a craft knife, and then all I have to do is go around the leaves, the tulips, with a normal pair of scissors. And that's pretty much it. The other thing you'll see me later on do is one of these, where my right hand is, I'm going to trim that down because the point is very pointy, and it's going to come off my card a little bit, and it just it wasn't going to add anything or take away anything. So we're going to trim that off a little bit. And they're still pointy, they're just less pointy, if that makes sense. So I'm just figuring out where I'm going to position it. I wanted sort of the roses, the flowers in the back, not the roses. And yes, the cardstock is left over from something else. I do a fair bit with digital images quite often. And what I will do is I will get carried away, or if I make a stuff up, which that particular one was a mistake, and then I'll just use it for drawing, for colouring. That way I'm not wasting my expensive cardstock. So yeah, it's just, we've got to do these things. I don't try and waste anything as much as I can. Sometimes you do waste things, but if I can reuse it for something else, then I will. We've got some foam dots. Now that I'm happy with my positioning, I figured the tulips in the back, even though they're strictly speaking in the back, flowers have a mind of their own, and they will grow forward and they will grow, so I thought that would be really cool. Now I'm taking all the backing off that. You can see how messy my desk is. And later on I do knock over all my rubbish bin falls down. I've got some Paper Rose cement ink. This is a little cube. This is very new to me, which I'm quite liking. It's just a dye-based ink. And I've got the Ultra New Narrow Bricks. I did not pixie spray this, and I should have, but it will work out just perfectly. Now I'm going to do a little bit more surgery very shortly. This is where I shouldn't have put down my foam mounts yet, but if I'm very gentle, it will come off really nicely. So a little bit more of stamp surgery, but that's okay, it all works out. I just wanted to show you that, think of different ways to use it. And there we go. Put a little foam dot underneath that flower that we've just put down. And the other thing we're going to do is we've got a little leaf that is just checking that I don't need another foam dot, which I do. And there we go. There's a little leaf that's attached, and I figured we could use that a little bit. Now the bottom half of this, all the foam is at the top, so the bottom of the plant is actually stuck flat to the cardstock. trim out that. And this I'm just going to put a little bit of multi-matte medium over it as well. And just stick it down. So that's pretty much it for the little flowers. The next thing we're going to do, I noticed a little spot that I needed a little bit of structure to him. The next thing I'm going to do is just figure out with my images, with my sentiments I should say, and where to place that. And again, I'm going to place that, I'm going to stamp that down with the cement ink from Paper Rose. We're just going to ground our plant there a little bit. I thought he just needed a little bit of grounding. If you've been here for a little while, you'll know that I like things grounded most of the time. There's situations. You'll see here that it's not taking away any of the color. It's just got a very long black tip to the flower. So we're just going to trim those off a little bit. They're just going to get damaged and there's no need for it. The next thing after I stamped this down, I decided that I wanted the bottom of, honestly there was a little bit parts of the sentiment that didn't quite stamp right. So what I'm going to do is after I do all this, using a 50% warm grey Prismacolor pencil, which is, what's the code for that? PC 1054. And we're just going to colour a little bit of Stardust stickles here and there. I didn't want anything too observant. Now this is where I sort of like stuffed up, because right now my hand is actually in some of the Stardust stickles. But what I decided to do with the pencil is just the very bottom of the love and with. So it's sort of a little bit of a graduated ombre, and that's my card. I hope you like it. I hope you're well. Take care, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.